So lovely to be here with everybody this morning. Thanks so much for coming. Just going to adjust the cameras for 2 seconds. I hope everyone online is feeling okay as well. Just saying, I think I was chatting with Dawn a moment ago. Just it feels like it's quite a heavy mood at the moment, doesn't there? Kind of around with changing weather. There's a lot of stuff going on societally and in the world, isn't there? And yeah, I think sometimes, you can recognize it collectively, and everyone I've spoken to so far has sort of said, oh, yeah, I'm feeling a bit, or so I think we'll do something that is matching to that. So something a little bit lower energy, something, a little bit more nurturing, and just to give us some time to kind of replenish and rest a little bit more, because sometimes we need to kind of go with what is happening rather than fight it. And yeah, I'm just sensing that this morning. Does that feel okay to everybody? Yeah, is everyone online okay with something a little bit softer and gentler as well? So if you're not, just let me know. So we will make a start. So the best place to start, I think, is probably lying down. So I'm going to suggest lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet upon the floor. So you might want to put something underneath the back of the head. You might find by having the knees bent and your feet upon the floor, you might want to take your feet so they're as wide as your body. You might actually find walking the feet a little bit wider and just letting the knees maybe drop lightly together might suit your back a little bit more. So you've got a slight inward rotation of your hip joints. So one of those two options could be a good way to start. We're going to let our hands just kind of rest upon the lower part of our abdomen. So if you find where your belly button is, and then just sort of placing the hands just kind of in alignment or lower than the belly button. So we're just resting on that lower abdominal area. As you've laid yourself on your mat, maybe just gently tucking your chin towards your chest, just to help to elongate through the back of the neck and through the upper part of the spine. If by bringing your hands onto the abdomen, you feel like your elbows are floating off of the floor, then you might just want to pop some blocks or some cushions under the elbows if you feel there's a strain through the chest or the torso. So you may wish to close the eyes. You might want to keep the eyes open and just have a soft gaze, but allowing the eyes to just be however feels comfortable for you. Maybe an eye pillow across the eyes or something to block out the light might be a good thing as well. So just taking a few moments to allow yourself to become aware of your physical body and just noticing how your body may feel. If there's any parts of you that might need some adjusting, some moving, some adapting or changing, and allowing that to happen. I'd like you to turn your attentions to your breath and being aware of where your hands are placed and feeling the weight of your hands resting on the abdomen. As we breathe in, we're going to direct our breath down in the direction of those hands. So as you breathe in, there'll be a slight swelling and rising of the abdomen. And as you breathe out, there'll just be a slight sense of that abdominal area softening and almost falling lightly back towards the earth. So try not to sort of force the movement of the abdomen, allow it to be natural. But we're just focusing our attention on that movement. Of that area. A gentle rise and fall of the hands. So you might find yourself breathing in a slightly longer or deeper or fuller way. And these breaths in with the extra oxygen will increase the amount of oxygen in and around your body. And if you also think about just slightly elongating the exhalations as well. And finding a balance where the in-breath and the out-breath is lengthened, but equal in their delivery and their departure. So I tend to go for about a sort of 4-second count in and a 4-second count out. But it might be that your breath's longer or shorter. You're finding that balance with the breath. This type of balanced breathing is called Samavriti, literally meaning balanced breath. We're going to keep coming back to this balanced breath through our practice today. So when you feel it's appropriate to do so, I'd like you to move the hands off of your belly and just bring the knees so they're just lightly in towards the body. So you might want to bring your fingertips either over the tops of the knees and at the upper end of the shins, or you might want to just tuck them between the back of the knees and the thighs. So from here, we're going to start to work into a movement which is called Apanasana. So I'm going to get you to begin to do the movement first of all, and then we'll introduce the breath. So I want you to just straighten your arms as you're holding your legs. And by doing that, your thighs will move away from your abdomen very slightly. And then you're going to bend your elbows and you're going to squeeze the thighs gently in towards your abdomen. So we straighten our arms, and that straightening of the arms will let the legs move away from the abdomen. And then you're going to bend the elbows and squeeze those thighs in towards the abdomen. So it's quite a subtle movement. So then once we get used to this movement, you inhale as you straighten your arms, and you exhale as you're bending and squeezing those thighs in. So you inhale as you straighten the arms, and exhale as you bend those elbows and squeeze those thighs lightly in towards the abdomen. So once you've got used to doing that with the breath, then see if you can reincorporate your Samavriti, so your balanced breath. It might be that the length of the breath changes a little bit by this movement or by doing this movement. So your breath rate might, or breath length might increase slightly or decrease, or it might stay exactly the same as when we were being a little bit more static. So as you start to get used to doing that movement with the breath, you might even find a slightly deeper squeeze in towards the abdominal area. Can feel quite nice. And just letting the legs float away with that in-breath. There's going to be lots of repetition with the breath today and some really simple movements. And then an extra long relaxation at the end. Brilliant. So when you feel ready, I want you to just let your feet just find the floor again. So exactly the same as where we was a moment ago. But what I'd like you to do on this occasion is interlace your hands together and then lift your head up and just tuck the hands behind the back of your head or either sides of your head if that doesn't feel comfortable for your shoulders or your upper back. So what I'd like you to do here is just think about focusing again on your breath, but you might feel this time your breath feels a little bit more obvious or dominant in the upper part of the chest, back, under armpit, shoulder blade area. So kind of the area around the chest. So letting the head completely relax, letting your jaw relax. If you're finding it uncomfortable with your arms, you can always put some supports underneath the elbows to support the arms if you need it. And then go back to starting to think about lengthening your in-breath and lengthening your out-breath. And again, finding a ratio that feels the right one for this particular type of breathing. So this more kind of chest and clavicular breathing. So again, it might be that the length of the breath is longer, it might be shorter than where we was a moment ago, it might be the same. Again, if your lower back doesn't quite like that, you can always take the feet a little bit wider and drop those knees together if that feels better for your back, like we did before. But our focus is on that upper back region, the chest area, the under armpits. So I'm going to suggest now, lift your head up, slide your hands out to the side. And if there's anything underneath your head, I'm going to suggest now, push it out of the way, unless you really need it to support your head. So bring your head onto the floor. We're going to walk our feet wide now. So you might find that your feet end up being almost off the side of your mat, or might be on the floor either side of your mat. And then you're stretching your arms out in alignment with the center of your chest. Turn your palms downwards this time rather than having them turned upwards. So we've got a slight downward rotation of our shoulders. Then we're going to do our windscreen wiper movement with our breath. So I'm going to start to get you to do the movement first of all, then we'll introduce the breath, and then we'll introduce the Samavriti. So start to let your knees go to the left-hand side and turn your head off towards the right-hand side. And then bring your head and your knees back up to where they was a moment ago. And then drop the knees over to the right and turn the head towards the left. Bring the head and knees back up to the center. Send the knees off to the left, head goes to the right. Bring the head and the knees back to the center. Knees go to the right, head goes to the left. Now the breath that we're going to do is as we inhale, we come to the center point. And as we exhale, knees and head go in opposite directions. Inhale to our center point. Knees and head go in opposite directions. So once you've got used to the movement, once you've got used to the breath, then start to think about allowing the in-breath and the out-breath to find an equal balanced length for themselves. So again, it might be similar to a pattern that you've been using previously through this practice. It might be a length that's unique to just this movement and the way that our lungs are being affected by this movement. So just exploring how that feels. Having a little bit longer in each of these postures to really get used to that coordination of movement, of breath. So there's no rush to get there at all. But once your knees are on your left-hand side, I want you to just take a pause there. You could stay exactly in this position. So knees are probably sort of hovering off the floor. You might want to take your left foot, pick it up and just lightly place it on the outside edge of your right knee. And by doing this, we're just adding a little bit more weight, a little bit of resistance, stretching through that right side of the waist and the torso. But staying as much as possible with your balanced breath, your Samavriti in-breath and out-breath. So if you cross the left foot on top of the right, unrelease it, and then just bring the knees and the head up to the center. And let's take them straight over to the other side. So your knees are going to the right, your head's going to turn to the left. Just letting yourself settle there for a moment. And then if it feels appropriate, placing the right foot on the outside edge of that left knee or thigh. And just allowing that little bit of extra weight to draw down and over towards that right hand side. Again, allowing yourself to reconnect with that Samavriti breath. Feeling those sensations through the left-hand side of the torso as we apply that little bit of extra weight there. So when you feel ready, we're going to turn the head back to the center and release the legs. Bring the legs back up to the center. And once more, hug your knees up in towards your body, holding to the shins or the backs of the thighs. And then what I'd like you to do is circle around on your lower back, but see if you can allow an in-breath and an out-breath to allow you to circle one complete circle around on the back. So maybe halfway gets you through the inhale, halfway gets you through the exhale. If you want to drop the breath for a moment or two, you can do that as well. You don't have to stay breathing in this way this whole time. You might just want to be free and just move the body without the breath. I'm going to suggest now going in the opposite way, so just changing your direction. Fantastic. Bring your feet so they're on the floor now. And just rest your arms gently down by your sides, palms turned down. You might need to just adjust through the back. So you might want to draw the chin down. You might just need to adjust the hips a little bit. You might need to adjust the feet. So we're just back in that semi-supine position where we started. From here, we're going to move into a shoulder bridge. So we're going to push our feet into the floor. And as we inhale, as we just gently lift the hips off of the floor, you are going to inhale, but don't worry about that quite yet. We can introduce that in a moment. And then we're going to lower down the hips back onto the floor. So as you push into the feet again and lift the hips towards the sky, there's a natural in-breath. And as we lower ourselves back to the floor, that's when our exhalation happens. So again, I want you to start to find that movement, find the breath, coordinate those together, and then begin to see if you can do that with an equal effort towards the in-breath and the out-breath. So this bridge doesn't have to be lifted up very high, but every time we do lift up, we're activating through the quads, we're activating into our glutes. That's a really good strengthener for the lower part of the body. Also, it helps to release tension from the lower back and the pelvis by doing this. You can stay in control of this as much as, or taking it as high or as low as feels right for you today. You might find you need to just adjust your feet a little bit. You might want to take them a little bit wider or a little bit closer together or near the body or away from the body. Whatever feels right for you. So the next time you lift your hips up, maybe just see how it feels just to hold here for a few breaths. You might find to allow yourself to hold, you might need to push the feet into the floor or squeeze the buttocks together slightly. And then when you feel ready, with your next exhalation, just gently bringing the hips back onto the floor again. Just take a moment there, reconnect with your breath, maybe reintroducing our Samavriti breath again. We're just letting ourselves just take a moment to just rest, to let the body adjust and get used to that position that we're currently in. So I want you to take a support for your head. So I'm going to suggest something that your head can roll upon, because we're going to come into a side lying position in a moment. So just slide a block or a blanket or a cushion underneath your head. And then what I'd like you to do is roll onto your left-hand side. So your head is still going to continue to be supported by whatever you've put underneath it, but you're going to keep your legs in that kind of fetal position now. So the knees are resting on top of each other. Your knees are roughly in alignment with your hips. So we're going to move your right hand. So what I want you to do is just bring your right hand on top of your left hand, or on top of your left wrist, depending on the length of your arms. And then we're going to take the right fingers, and I want you to just let them just start to kind of float along the floor, but above your head. And as you get to that furthest point above the top of your head, you're going to start to roll your head backwards, and you're going to let those right fingers continue to be as close towards the floor as you can do. As you begin to circle, and you'll get to a point where your right arm is in the opposite direction to your left arm along the floor, and then continue that circular journey with those right fingers past your hip, and then all the way past your knee, and then all the way back onto your left hand again. So essentially what we're doing is we're drawing a big circle all around ourselves. So I want you to just let those right fingers start to lift over the head again, rolling yourself back. So you might even want to turn your head and look back towards that right arm or those right fingers. And then you continue that circle all the way around, past the hip, past the knee, and then all the way back towards that left hand again. So we're going to do that a few times. Don't worry too much about trying to do this with coordinated breath, but just let your breath be nice and long, maybe finding a balanced breath that works for you in this moment. But we haven't got to move the arm in time with our breath. So we're just breathing and moving. So as we're coming into particularly that sort of state where we're in that sort of full position where the arms are furthest away from each other, you might even find you just want to take a little pause there, because you'll be in a twist when you're in that position. And just notice how that feels, just to stretch across the side of the body, what that feels around the armpit area or the chest. And then you might just want to continue your journey after you've had a little pause. So just exploring how that feels. Being gentle with the breath. Also trying to stay in that kind of balanced state as much as possible. So the next time your right hand comes back onto your left hand, just take a pause there for a moment. And what I'd like you to do is just focus your attention. Actually, if we bend our elbows slightly, so just bring the arms in towards your body just a little bit. So just bend the elbows, rest the hands on the floor in front of you. And then what I'd like you to do is just think about focusing your breath in and out of your right nostril. So if you just focus on the movement of the breath as you breathe in through your right nostril, and as you breathe out through your right nostril. So we're going to use a breathing practice called alternate nostril breathing a little bit later on in our practice. And this could be a nice way to just kind of introduce this idea of different nostrils being more dominant and the change in the nostrils. Because in a few moments' time, we're going to come onto the other side and end up breathing through our left nostril rather than our right. So what I'd like you to do from here is maneuver yourself around. So it doesn't really matter that your head is facing towards the back of the studio or the back of your mat. I want you to just come and lie on your front now. Slide your support away from you. And then just bring your hands, rest them one on top of each other. And just coming into this crocodile pose for a few moments. That's quite similar to how we was on our backs a few moments ago, where we had the hands behind the back of the head. If you want to separate your feet, you can do. If you want to have a little roll through the hips, you can do that as well. But I want you to just take a couple of moments here. Again, focusing on your breath, but this time focusing on breathing through both of your nostrils at the same time. So you inhale through both nostrils. And you exhale through both nostrils. Again, maybe allowing the in-breath and the out-breath length to be similar in their length and in their delivery. And then if it feels okay for you, lift your head off of your hands and then bring your elbows in front of you, and you're going to support your head in your hands. So this slightly kind of accentuates the back bend that we're in. But it's almost as though, you know, if you were sort of like resting head in those hands, but the elbows are in front of you. So you'll be in a slightly deeper back bend here. Again, going back to maybe focusing on the breath in and out through both of the nostrils. Finding that balance. So what I'd like you to do from here is hands are going to come now onto your mat, either sides of your body. And I'd like you to just push yourself up and push back into child's pose. So we're just going to use child's pose as an opportunity to counterpose that back bend that we've been in. So if you are able to, bring your forehead to the floor, or if your forehead doesn't reach the floor, I want you to take a support or a block, a cushion, and put something underneath your forehead rather than using your arms. once you have your head supported, then what I'd like you to do is bring your hands together behind the back of your head. So you're just going to lightly interlace the hands together behind the back of the head. You might even just rest the wrists slightly on the back of the head and then walk the elbows forward just a touch. So we've got this inward rotation of our shoulders, but also a slight stretch through the tricep and the upper back area. Now, if that feels like it's putting too much pressure through your neck, or if it feels a bit claustrophobic, which it can do for some people, you don't have to do what I'm doing here with the hands. You might just let them just rest on the floor instead of around the back of the head. So feeling into that lower back area, feeling into that abdominal area. As we do sometimes here, you might just want to take a little rock from side to side. You're just gently massaging the abdominal area into those thighs. So when you feel ready, separate your hands, bring them back onto the floor if they raised behind the head, and then bring yourself back onto the floor. But this time you're going to have your right hand side resting upon the floor. So you're back in that fetal position, drawing that cushion or support underneath the head. So the knees are going to be bent up in alignment with the hips. You're going to start off with your hands just gently projecting forward in alignment with the center of your chest. And then it's going to be your left fingertips that you begin to just gently walk around the floor above the top of the head and then turn in the head as you start to let that left arm just float back behind you and then continue that circle all the way around, past the left hip, past the left knee, and then back onto that right hand. So we're going to do that movement a few times again, just moving quite slowly with that circulation of the shoulder and the upper part of the torso, and just letting your breath just find an equal balance. So the in-breath and the out-breath are equal in their delivery. So you may well notice that one shoulder might be more mobile than the other one. There might be points where you feel like you've kind of got a bit stuck or it feels a bit uncomfortable. So when you hit those points, you might just find you want to take a pause for a moment and just kind of breathe through any discomfort. You might well find that as you get to that point where the arms are the furthest away from each other, you might just want to pause there for a moment or two and just see how that feels in that twisted position. And then maybe carry on your journey back around that circle again. So I'll just give you another few moments just to explore this in your own way. These stretches where we're kind of stretching diagonally across the body really help to release some of the quite deep connective tissue in the body, particularly around the shoulders and the hips and the sides of the body. So when you feel ready, just gently complete that last circle, bringing that left hand back onto the right hand. And then the same as what we did on the other side, just bend your elbows and bring your hands a little bit closer towards you. If you need to adjust yourself in any way, then please do. And then turning the attention predominantly to your breath. Just becoming a little bit more focused on your breath coming in and out through your left nostril. So it might be that the breath continues through the right, but our focus is on the flow through the left. The slower and the gentler you can breathe, the more obvious it starts to become. So letting that focus of the breath just fall away for a moment or two, and just let yourself just reflect on how you are, how you're feeling at this time. And then what I'd like you to do is just think about gently start to push yourself up and bring yourself into a 4-point kneeling position. So if you do need a little bit of extra padding underneath the knees or underneath the wrists, I'm going to suggest doing that. The sequence that we're going to do here, we're going to do similar to what we've been doing before. So we're going to start the movement off and then the breath, and then start to allow that Samavriti to find its place. So again, it's going to be a movement that you know, it's Chakra Vanasana, it's called. So we begin to reverse our bottom back towards our heels and just lightly letting your chin just draw in towards your chest. Then we float ourselves back up to where we first came from. So we round the back very slightly as we take the bottom down towards the heels. Just drawing the chin in slightly, letting the head relax. And then inhale as you start to lift yourself back up. And exhale as you round the back and sink back down towards the heels. So again, get used to that movement. Get used to when you're breathing in and out. And then if it's appropriate for you, start to introduce the same length of your in-breath as the same length as your out-breath. And this should just naturally start to let the movement of the body just fall in alignment with the speed and the effort of the breath. So the next time you end up back in your child's pose, so your bottom is near or on your heels, just take a moment there. So you might want to cross your forearms, you might want to stack your fists on top of each other to bring your forehead onto. You might bring a cushion or a blanket or something to support you there. So we're going to come into a position that we haven't done for quite a while. Some of you might not have even done this with me before. So we're going to need either a wall, or if you're at home, you might use a chair or a sofa. But we're going to do an elevation of our legs up the wall to act as our relaxation before coming into a breathing practice and then a meditation. So I'm going to just move my mat so you can see what we're going to do here. So everyone in the studio can just use this long bit of wall here, but we're going to turn our mat so we've got something to lean against. So if you was at home and you was using like a chair, you could put your legs over a chair or over the edge of a sofa or something. If you've got a bit of wall at home, you can use a bit of wall, or use something that you can lean up against. So the tricky bit is coming into it. So what I'm going to suggest doing is actually bring a shoulder against the wall or against the surface that you're going to rest upon, and then you're going to roll back onto here. So you're going to roll around and then bring your legs up. So it doesn't matter here how close your bottom is towards the wall. You can be quite far away. Your knees can be quite bent here as well. Some people will find it's just really comfortable to straighten the legs and kind of use gravity in the wall to sort of help. Some people will prefer to have the knees bent a little bit. Reach that. That's it. I'm there. Thank you. So you might want to pop something under your head. I would suggest, rather than a foam block, cushion, blanket, something a little bit softer. If you're feeling really cold as well, what you could do is hook a blanket over your feet and make a little sleeping bag so you can get in it and keep nice and warm as well. So if you are feeling a little bit chilly today, last thing you could do, eye bag across the eyes. So I just want you to just watch for a second. So we're going to come out in exactly the same way after we've rested here for a little while. So you're going to bring your feet on the wall. You're going to hug your knees in towards your chest. And then we're going to roll out in the same way that we came in. I want you, when you come out though, to just take a few moments just to rest here, because we've had our legs elevated. It changes our blood pressure a little bit. It brings our blood pressure down once we've been in it for a little while. So if you are susceptible to getting dizzy or low blood pressure, what you don't want to be doing is getting up, because you'll feel dizzy quite quickly. So you need to act a little bit slowly as you come out, but I'll guide you through that. So please feel free, if you're in the studio, to use the wall. If you're at home, finding somewhere that you can use, could be a door or could be something that feels firm, something that feels safe. And then you're just going to bring your side body against the wall. And then you're swinging yourself around and bringing the legs up. I forgot to say, if you've got socks and you want to put socks on, great idea. It is a bit chilly. Autumn has arrived, finally. That's quite humid this morning, isn't it? But really windy, and obviously it's started really raining as well now, hasn't it? Yeah. So if you sit against the wall, and then the easiest way to is lie back and then swing your legs up. Fantastic. Let me help you with that. Just lift your heels up. I'm going to slide that underneath. So stretch your legs up. There you go. So remembering where we placed our hands right at the start of the practice, you could go back to do that again. The hands just resting on the belly or out by the sides. Some people even like to take their arms kind of over the head and stretch them along the floor above them. So the trick here is not to have to engage with too much effort. You've got something supporting the legs. Gravity is helping as well, make us feel sort of connected to the earth. So as long as you're not sort of tensing the legs too much and you can just let them kind of rest, you should start to find the body will just start to naturally unwind. So you may find it useful to continue to breathe in the way that we've been breathing. And for some people, this inversion, which is essentially a supported shoulder stand, can be really kind of beneficial to help to bring the nervous system down to a state of feeling very balanced and rested and quiet. But with all of these things, if you feel uncomfortable, if you notice maybe your breathing feeling a little bit out or anything doesn't feel right, you can come out in the way that I showed you and just come and lie on your mat as we would normally do in Shavasana. So I'd like you to just gently begin to think about externalizing your awareness. Then I'd invite you to just begin to gently bend your knees and just slide your feet down the wall. You might want to bring the hands around the shins or the back of the thighs and just hug the legs lightly in towards the body. Maybe a little rock across the back. And then when you feel ready, I'd like you to just roll onto one side, and I want you to just take at least a minute on that side just to kind of let yourself be in that halfway place between being upside down and coming into a more upright position. And maybe noticing how energetically that's made you feel being in that inverted position, how it feels on your back or the legs. Maybe other parts of you. And when you feel ready, I'd like you to just begin to gently just start to push yourself up. And you might want to use the wall as we're near the wall to come and sit against. So you might want to take a block or a cushion and use a wall, or at home if you're using a sofa or some other piece of furniture. So again, you might just want to make sure if you need a cover, you need anything to put over you to keep you warm, so you do that. Then finding a place where you feel comfortable to have both of your palms resting on your knees or on your thighs, on your legs, but your palms turned up. So we need to be able to turn the palms down and turn them up freely. So we're going to utilize a version of alternate nostril breathing that is less about blocking the nostrils and more just about bringing our attention to two different sides of ourselves. So right now, with our palms turned up, I'd invite you to be aware of the flow of the breath through both of your nostrils. So you're breathing in and breathing out. And the palms being turned up is an indication that both of the nostrils are in our focus and attention at this time. In a moment, what we're going to start to do is turn one palm down and turn the other palm up. So I'd like you to breathe in through both nostrils. Turn your right palm down. Breathe out through your left nostril, almost as though you're breathing into your left palm. Breathe in up from your left palm. Turn your left palm down, turn your right palm up, and breathe out through your right nostril into your right palm. Breathe up from your right palm through the right nostril. Turn the right palm down, turn the left palm up. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in and up through the left. Turn the left palm down, right palm up. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Turn the right palm down, turn the left palm up. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Turn the left palm down, right palm up. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Right palm down, left palm up. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Left palm down, right palm up. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Turn both of your palms up. Just breathe freely in and out through both nostrils. Notice how this practice might affect how you're feeling in your mind, how you're feeling in your body, energetically, how you may be. And I'll talk you through it just a couple more times and then give you a bit of space to play with it on your own. So breathe in through both nostrils. Turn the right palm down. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Turn the left palm down, right palm up. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Turn the right palm down, left palm up. Breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Left palm down, right palm up. Breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. I'll let you continue for a few moments on your own. Feel free to stop at any point that you need. Again, allow your breath to be gentle, to be balanced. And when you've done an equal amount to both sides, turning both of those palms back up and just breathing freely. acknowledging to ourselves in this moment the care, the love, and the support that we've shown to ourselves by breathing, by moving, by allowing ourselves to react to what we feel is right for us in those moments. And we're building that relationship with our intuitive self. Maybe allowing yourself to recognize what may have come up for you through this practice today. Maybe you found it a struggle. Maybe you found it easy. Maybe it revealed things to you. Maybe it reminded you of things that you've been pushing away, or things that you need to hear time and time and time. But whatever has arisen for you, whether that's positive, whether that's less so, just allowing ourselves to be grateful that we're able to be here. We've got the privilege to be here right now. Joining our hands into Amanjali Mudra to recognize those that have gone before us, those that have allowed these practices to be here for us today. And allowing these practices to support, nourish, and guide you through your day, but also giving us the ability to be able to maybe send some of that love and support out to people that may really need it at this time. So Om Shanti. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Nice to be here with you all. Take your time, there's no rush. Thank you, everyone online as well. Really nice to be here with you.